continuation of the same topic. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular scheduled meeting, City of Griffin Board of Commissioners, November 9th, 2021. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner David Brock, followed by the invocation by Chairman Tinsley.
Please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just for the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome the shortcomings. Keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name.
Thank you. We have the agenda as presented. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Brock. Mr. Brock with a motion, Mr. Tinsley with a second. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. That's 6-0. Moving into presentations and delegations, recognize Danny Pryor, Water Distribution Superintendent, as October 2021 Strongest Lake Award recipient. Watershed Management Deputy Director Brendan Lewis will address.
All right there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
David.
So Danny, I nominated Danny for Strongest Link for October 2021 because on October, what day was it? It was Friday, about 3 weeks ago, Friday. At 5 o'clock, I got a phone call. We had a raw water main break out at Flint River Pump Station, and that's the pump station that supplies raw water to the Harry Simmons water plant for treatment. I met Danny out there at the site, and we determined that it broke in the worst possible spot. So, the water distribution team and collections team, a mixture of those folks, got to work. I was very impressed with Danny's leadership on the job. He took his leadership to an extent that some could argue that he didn't have to. They were there for 24 hours, I believe, total, from the time they responded to the call to the time that it was fixed and got to go home. So, 5 o'clock Friday night, people are expecting to get off after having to work all week, and then they're in a cold, wet, muddy hole for 24 hours straight. Danny was in there with his hip waders on, knee deep, running a jackhammer, not just providing direction, but providing an example. And that's the kind of leadership that I believe the Strongest Link Award is intended to recognize. So I appreciate the group of directors who agreed with my nomination that Danny should be the October 2021 Strongest Link recipient. And
I'd like to say, one thing. And I'd like to say one thing also. He was right there beside me all the time. First time in my 32 years there that the deputy director has ever been in the hole with us, or much less stayed with us at all. But it was the whole team, and he was there with us 100%. And thank you.
there.
Danny, watched you work over, you've been with us now about 35 years?
No, coming up on 33.
33 years.
In a month or
So
so.
I watched you over the years, and you're always a workhorse and just always should lead by example. And we're very proud of you. Thank you for your
Well,
staying with the city.
it takes everybody.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, where's the?
Please.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, Lord.
Hold that one.
That's a mug shot.
Okay.
Here, grab the chain, man.
I'll get the change.
Yeah, small chain.
Okay.
Linda's gonna love this. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks, sir.
All right, something a lot more exciting. We're going to talk about financial reports. So Marcus Schwab is going to introduce the financial reports ending September 2021. Welcome, sir.
They gotta quit bending that, that's what makes the sound. Got
Hey, cleaned up.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, well, good evening. Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
We
sir.
good? All right. So every month we go through financial statements and we ask you if you have any questions about the cash position, the interim financial report. I mean, this is 3/4 of the fiscal year. I'm sorry, three quarters into the calendar year, but it's September 30. Let's just leave it at that, 1/4. My mistake. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Tracking as we should? Looking
Yes.
good?
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we're going to present the annual audit results and annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021. Chief Financial Officer Marcus Schwab will address, as well as David Irwin, CPA of Malden and Jenkins CPAs for the presentation. So welcome.
Right, so David's here to join me on this presentation. Again, this was another awesome year with a bunch of challenges. We've had COVID, we've had grants, we've had staff turnover, we've had, what else do we have? All kinds of activity in there,
Cash infusion.
cash infusion, cash diffusion, so yes, in and out. With all those challenges in mind, the staff and team, I just want to say thank you to the board for providing us the support we needed in order to affect a positive outcome with all the audit results. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce David Irwin, who's our principal on our audit. He's the audit partner?
Yes.
Partner on the team, so David Irwin.
Welcome, Dave.
Go hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. My height can sometimes be an issue on these things. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Hope you all, hope you all are doing well. It's good to see you all again. Again, my name is David Irwin, and I'm at Malden Jenkins. I was the partner who oversaw this year's audits of the city's financial statements. And I'm happy to be here and I appreciate the opportunity to discuss with you all the results of this year's audit. Presentation here is coming.
Let me see. Oops. Can you go next slide, please? There you go, where's your clicker? Next slide.
No announcement. All right. I believe you all have already received a copy of the financial statements. So the purpose of my presentation here this evening is to provide you an overview of our independent auditor's report, discuss the 2 compliance reports that we also issued in conjunction with the audit, hit a few of the financial statement highlights, talk about some of the required disclosures that the auditing standards require so we communicate to you all, and answer any questions that you all may have. The financial statements themselves that have been presented to you all are the responsibility of city's management and members of the city commission. As your external auditors, our responsibility is to issue an opinion on these statements. Now, we conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards, and I'm happy to say that we are issuing a clean or unmodified opinion on this year's report. This is the highest level of assurance that we can provide as your external auditor. This is what you want. What this means is that, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. All right. As part of the audit, there's also 2 compliance reports that we issue, the first of which is the single audit report. The single audit report, this is a compliance report that we issue when an entity has over $750,000 of federal expenditures during the year. We are issuing a clean or unmodified opinion on the single audit report as well. All right. The second compliance report is the yellow report. Now, the yellow report is a report on your internal controls and your compliance with laws and regulations. I'm happy to say that we had no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses during our audit. I mean, we noted no significant deficiency in your internal control that occurred during our audit. So, as I mentioned before, for a city your size, you all have significant financial activity going on. And with all the new accounting standards that are being implemented each year, and really just how complex the financial reporting process has become, it's a pleasure to be able to stand here tonight and tell you all that we're issuing a clean opinion with no audit findings. So again, that's something that you all should definitely be proud of. These continue to be some very unique and unusual times, but I'm happy to say that from an audit standpoint, this year was business as usual. Jessica, Marcus, Amanda, the entire finance department did a really good job this year, as they always have done. I tell you, they're very receptive, accommodate our audit team. They work hard to get us everything that we need and to answer any questions that we have in order to get the audit finalized in a timely manner. So, in addition, when the government has the type of turnover that you all had this year, with the retirement of Kenny and the retirement of Chuck in the finance department, it's not unusual that the audit shows some cracks, some items that kind of slip through the cracks during the year, whether it be from an internal control standpoint or an accounting processes standpoint. We didn't have any of that this year. It was a seamless transition, and again, just want to appreciate and thank your staff, management and staff, for their hard work this year and their effort in making this audit process a smooth one. Now for a brief overview of your financial statements. Again, you all prepare what is called an annual comprehensive financial report, otherwise known as an ACFR. An ACFR requires the inclusion of additional information that goes above and beyond the basic financial reporting requirements. And this document is submitted annually to the Governmental Finance Officers Association, otherwise known as the GFOA, where they have a team of professional staff as well as a special review committee that goes through your financial statements. And when they review your financial statements, their objective is not to assess the financial health of the city. Their objective, rather, is to make sure that the necessary information is in your document in order for the readers of your financial statements to be able to do so themselves. And through this review, the GFOA has once again awarded the city the Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting. And that certificate is included in this year's report. So this is the 17th year in a row that the city has received the certificate. So again, these financial statements, it's an impressive document, and it's definitely something that you all should be proud of. As you look through this report, one section I always like to bring to your attention is the Management's Discussion Analysis, otherwise known as the MD&A. This begins on page 4 of your financial statements. It's right after our audit opinion. And the purpose of the MD&A is to make it easier for a broader audience to better utilize and understand your financial statements. And this is done by providing a financial narrative and explanation of the report from management's perspective. This section, it does a really good job of summarizing the basic financial statements and again, providing an analytical overview of the financial activity that occurred throughout the year. So again, if you can, please take the time to read through the MD&A. The city's basic financial statements are broken down into 3 components, the first of which being the government-wide financial statements. This section provides a broad view of the city's operations in a manner similar to what you would see for private sector business. All the funds of the city are combined into 1 of 2 columns, the first of which being your governmental activities, and the second column being those for your business type activities. We have a slide here that summarizes the city's financial activity from the government-wide perspective. And as you can see here, the city ended the year with assets and deferred outflows of resources around $355.5 million. Approximately $212.4 million of that are your capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation. City had around $43.2 million in cash and cash equivalents on hand as of year end, and around $64.1 million in investments. Look at your liabilities. Total liabilities and deferred inflows of resources were approximately 150 million. Of that amount, around 125 million are long-term in nature. Look at your revenues. You all had revenues around $125.2 million. That's an increase of about $6 million compared to prior year. Your expenses were around 103 million, which was an increase of around $3 million compared to FY20. This resulted in an ending net position of approximately $205.5 million. That's an increase of around $22 million compared to prior year, which is slightly higher than the $18.6 million increase in that position that you all had in fiscal year 20. So again, all in all, a good year for the city from the NBY perspective. The second component of your financial statements are the fund level statements. This is what you all typically see throughout the year. The fund level statements, they focus on the individual parts of the city, and they disclose in more detail the financial activity than that of the government-wide financial statements. So, of all the city's governmental funds, if I'm in your shoes, the most significant to me would be the general fund. It's the main operating fund of the city, and therefore this is where the majority of your revenues are received and your funds expended. So we have a chart on this slide that shows the general fund's revenues for the year. Total revenues for the general fund around $22.6 million. That's an increase around $2 million compared to fiscal year 20. The two significant sources of revenue for you all are taxes and charges for services. Property taxes were around $5 million for fiscal year 21. Other taxes around $8.3 million. And what I mean by other taxes, this includes things such as your local option sales tax, your insurance premium tax, and your excise taxes. And as far as your charges for services, which again is your other significant revenue item, that total around $5.6 million for FY21. Chart on this slide is the general fund's expenditures for the year. Got cut off, sorry about that. But the general fund's expenditures total around $29.5 million. That's an increase around $2.5 million compared to prior year. Once again, no surprise, the majority of the expenditures for the general fund was for public safety. That's typical what you see. Public safety expenditures were around $16.5 million this year. So, looking at your public safety expenditures as a percentage of your total general fund expenditures was around 56%. And that's right in line with what we typically see of local governments of your size. City also had general government expenditures around $5.5 million and public works expenditures of $4.6 million for the year. Has been the case in the prior year. Again, the general fund had some pretty significant transfers in from other funds, mainly the electric fund and the water sewer fund. But again, that's what we typically see over the past few years. So when you factor in these transfers, as well as some other non-operating revenues, such as proceeds from sale of capital assets, the general fund's fund balance increased $2 billion during FY21 for an ending balance of just under $15 million. This next chart shows the fund balance history of the general fund over the past 5 years. It's always interesting to kind of see where you were and compare that to where you currently stand. But as you can see here, your fund balance has continued to increase, particularly over the past 2 years. Again, the first 3 years were flatter than others. But again, you all have not seen any decreases in your general fund balance over the past 5 years. So again, that's definitely good to see. And one thing I always like to remind people when I talk about fund balance is not what you all have in the form of cash to spend as you see fit. Fund balance is merely the difference between assets and liabilities, only a portion of which is cash on hand. Additionally, one thing to keep in mind is that the general fund incurs expenditures on average of about $2.5 million per month. So as of June 30, you all have about 6 months worth of fund balance in your fund balance available to meet your monthly operating expenditures. And that's good to see. You have a strong enough fund balance as of June 30 to get you through the months of July through November when your revenues are typically down. So again, it's a good looking fund balance for you all as of June 30. Couple of other funds I'm going to briefly mention are your city's three major enterprise funds, which is your water sewer fund, your electric fund, and your solid waste fund. Again, enterprise funds, the goal of enterprise funds is for their operations to be similar to that of a private sector business. The goal is for them to be self-sufficient and to generate sufficient operating revenues to cover their operating expenses. And the chart on this page, as you can see, the electric fund, water sewer fund, as always, they continue to do quite well. Electric fund had operating income about $10.5 million this year, and your water wastewater operating income was about $8.8 million this year. Solid waste fund had a slight operating loss around $634,000. This is a result of the continued increase in your landfill post-closure cost due to your phase 3 expansion. But your enterprise as a whole, they continue to do quite well. And all three of these funds are generating positive operating cash flows, which again, is what you want to see out of your enterprise funds. I'll wrap this up. One item, final item to discuss with you all again is the information that the auditing standards requires that we communicate to you all. But again, with you all receiving a clean opinion with no audit findings, the information here is essentially formality. But we had no difficulties or disagreements in dealing with management. We had no uncorrected misstatements. And again, we are independent of the city as required by government auditing standards. So, and with that, unless anybody has any specific questions, that concludes my presentation. But again, there's a lot of information in this report. What I tried to do is just hit the highlights, what I think is the most important to you all. But again, thank your staff again for all their hard work this year. And we appreciate the opportunity to be of service to you all and look forward to working in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Are there any questions of board members? Thank you so much. We have a great holiday season.
You said, thank you.
Yes, sir. See you next year. Thank you, Mr. Schwab. Congratulations.
Thank
you. So with that being said, recognize the Cga Griffin Finance Department for receiving the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the 17th consecutive year and for receiving Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Financial Reporting for Popular Annual Financial Report for the 14th consecutive year. Mr. Schwab.
Thank you. So that's a direct result of the support that we've had from the board and the directors and all the teams put together. So yes, that's 14 years. I've been here 14 years, so we've done everything we can with your support to make this happen. And it's something to be commended. So you all need to get a chance to pat yourselves on the back. As David had mentioned earlier, it is not something to be taken lightly. It's something that means a lot to the team, and the city can be proud of that.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you. And thanks to Jessica for her support. Appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you to everyone for their hard work. We know it's a team effort, every department working together along with management team, Mr. Connor. So again, thank you, and we're glad to be part of it. Citizens comment. At this time, the mayor opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to specific agenda items not listed on the agenda for a public hearing or to a concern within the jurisdiction of the city commission. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The mayor reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. With that being said, is there anybody on my left side like to come before the board? Anybody on my left side? Anybody on my right side like to come before the board? Last call. Moving, we do not have any public hearings tonight. We have a consent agenda, items 5 to 11. Do we have a motion to take consent agenda as a whole? A motion from Ms. Murray, second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor of items 5 through 11, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Consent agenda. Moving into The regular scheduled meeting agenda, item 12, consider resolution naming Jessica W. O'Connor, city manager, Marcus Schwab, chief financial officer, Amanda Carmichael, accounting director, and Christina Ortez, accounting, as individual authorized to deposit and or withdraw funds from the local government investment pool on behalf of the city of Griffin, and authorize the mayor to execute said resolution. Do a motion to approve. Mrs. Murray with a motion. Second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 13 is consider the purchase of one 2022 Ford F-550 regular cab diesel truck in the amount of $50,070 and install one Jordan 20-foot rollback record unit on the Ford F-550 truck in the amount of $41,800 for a total of $91,870 from Allen J. Fleet Sales, lowest quote under the Sourcewell State contract. Motion approved.
Motion to approve, sir.
Mr. Brock with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Murray with a second. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 14, to consider MEAG power sales of excess supplemental reserve capacity of the city of Fairburn on behalf of the city of Griffin. Motion to approve. Mrs. Murray with a motion. Second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 15 is consider MEAG power sale excess capacity to the city of Beaufort on behalf of the city of Griffin. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Tinsley with a motion, second by Mr. Brock. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 16 is consider the purchase of one 2022 Ford F-350 truck in the amount of $47,534 and one 2022 Ford F-250 truck in the amount of $41,472 from Allen J. Fleet Sales under the state contract, and consider declaring a surplus unit 898, a 2001 Dodge 2500 truck used in the meter division, and amend the budget accordingly. We have a motion to approve. Mrs. Murray with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brock. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0 on item 16. Item 17, consider a cancellation of the scheduled workshop and regular meeting on Tuesday, December 28, 2021, due to Christmas holidays. Do we have a motion to approve the cancellation of meetings? Mrs. Murray with a motion, second by Mr. Tinsley.
One question.
Go ahead.
Where are the moving workshop to the 14th?
I was gonna ask y'all about that in my comments.
That's just
We do have one item that we have to address before the end of the year, which is an executive session for personnel that y'all do at the end of every year. So we can either do that on the 23rd, or if you want to make sure it's the last meeting of the year, that would be December 15th. We can either call a workshop for that day or do it that evening.
You do it that evening, would that be good for y'all?
Yep.
Okay, that evening.
For that.
Moving, all in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0, favor of canceling the meetings. Item 18, to consider a resolution approving projects to be completed with American Rescue Plan Act funds granted to the city of Griffin, which include revenue recovery, premium pay for employees, sewer infrastructure study, and fiber expansion. And with it being a lot of money, Ms. O'Connor, do you have any comments you'd like to make, or just for clarification?
Sure. Just as we presented at the workshop 2 weeks ago, this is directly related to the American Rescue Plan Act money that we were granted, which was a total of over $8.5 million. The total that we are asking to spend as of right now is approximately 4.68. This is a little different than how we did it with the CARES Act money, if you'll remember. The CARES Act money, we had exact amounts that we were going to spend for those particular projects at the time that we came back to you. This we don't. We have estimates from Dr. Keller for his engineering costs of about $504,000, from Mr. Cotton for his staking and construction engineering costs as well. We're saying about up to $3 million. And then of course our purchase of Rosie that we've already made, so we do know that exact amount. And then our premium pay for our employees, and it just will depend on that particular day that we write that check, but it's close to $697,000. So that total right now, again, is about 5.2 with the purchase of Rosie. And that is where we stand. We're not making any recommendations at this point for the remaining almost 3.3 million, because we do think that Some of the interim final rule will change and some of our conditions may change where we will want to come back to you before we have to extend it all by 2026 and need something different. So we'll keep that in reserve at this time unless we come across something that's needed.
Quick wrap up on that. Are there any questions or concerns? No. All right, so do we have a motion to approve? We have Mr. Tinsley with a motion. Do we have a second? Mrs. Murray with a second. All in favor, please signal by raise your hand. All in favor, 7-6-0. Good job to your team and staff for the work on this. Item 19, consider a work order form WOF form RTC solution through a previously consider work order solution to a previously approved master service agreement in the amount of $99,724.80 for staking and design fiber optic distribution network in the downtown Griffin and feeder 4 area located west central of Griffin. Mr. Brock with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Tinsley. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0 on item 19. Item 20, consider resolution deeming a second meeting with the Spalding County Water and Sewage Authority as unnecessary for 2021 and indefinitely suspending future meetings with the Joint Authority Committee as contemplated by the water sales agreement and intergovernmental agreement executed by the parties on December 9, 2020 and amended contract accordingly. We have a motion to suspend. That Mrs. Murray with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Tinsley. Question by Ms. Flowers. Yes, ma'am.
So it said that we were supposed to meet so many times annually. So we're doing away with the one that was second, but starting the second meeting for this year, but starting calendar year 2022, we resume the assumption that we have the 2 meetings per year.
Yes.
Okay, so this, I know we had to have a resolution, but I just want to make sure I understand that this doesn't address the language going forward, this specifically addresses, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the committee has also suspended the subcommittee,
Right.
making recommendations coming last month that we no longer have our monthly power.
Joint Authority Exploratory Committee. At that last meeting, which was October 27th, Mayor Holberg and I participated with Ms. Matlock as well as Mr. Morrow and Dr. Ledbetter. And that's right, Mr. Keenan. And at the recommendation of that group, we have decided that at this point, since we're not going to move forward with valuation of the assets because we don't feel like it's timely until the authority decides what kind of future they would like, there's no point in continuing to meet and look at each other for minutes. So we are asking to suspend that indefinitely, not to just get rid of it because it does contemplate in the water sales agreement that we have 5 years to make a decision. So if once they come to a decision as to the future of the water and sewer authority, we can then get back together if need be.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion from Ms. Murray, second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor of the motion, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Before going into item 21 executive session, we're going to have our city manager's report.
So I've already taken care of one for me, so thank you. The other things that I wanted to remind you of are some more calendar things. Cga graduation is next Thursday, so tonight actually is the last night of Cga because we will be closed on Thursday for Veterans Day, so don't forget that either. A couple years ago, y'all approved Veterans Day as a new holiday for the city. So Mr. Walker is over at the motor pool right now, and I'm sure Mr. Hopper is headed there.
And when's the graduation?
Graduation is next Thursday, November 18th at 6 p.m. at Historic City Hall. You are all invited and we'd love to have you, so please mark your calendars. If you can come, let me know. I hope to have it catered by Margot's, but I'm still working on that. Hometown Connections. I met with our 3G Plus this morning, as well as Archway, and we are trying to schedule that for either the 8th or 13th of December. I've sent correspondence to our local delegation to find out what day works best for them. Because it's really for the 3 of them, we'll just sort of go with what the majority of them can do, and then we'll hope to have the majority of y'all there, and we'll notice meetings accordingly. But right now, that's Wednesday, December 8th, or Monday, December 13th. That's normally a nighttime meeting. And then we take them to dinner, but we're trying to do that in conjunction with the county and the school board this year. Everybody wants to do that together and instead of trying to get them down separately, which I think ACCG and GMA are intrigued that we want to do that together. So that's interesting for them as well. We are supposed to have our annual goals workshop on January 25th. That's normally our regular workshop day, that Tuesday. So if everybody is good with that, Ms. Bartholomew has already started looking for places for us to go. Last year, if you'll remember, it was a day and a half. We don't anticipate needing a day and a half this year. We do have some things that we need to address, but unless the directors come up with something the week before that, at our meeting, we would think that just that Tuesday is fine if everybody is okay with that fourth Tuesday just being the lengthy day and then coming back for a meeting that night. Okay. We have a tree lighting for downtown on December 3rd, and I think this year City Church is really getting involved with us and doing a lot of like Candy Cane Lane and activities in the park, so that should be very fun. So mark your calendars for that Friday. I have been interviewing the last 2 days, so I've been hard to get to. I've been in interviews most of the days for Brian Miller's replacement, so I hope to have some good news there soon. And then, of course, I just wanted to congratulate Marcus. Amanda, she sort of got thrown in at the last minute timing wise, and I know how that feels. So she handled that very well with the audit and took care of that with Marcus's guidance, and that entire team did a very good job with the audit. And also just to congratulate Danny Pryor again. It's not often that you see somebody in that level of leadership get an award, but I think it was important to notice that he was doing something that he didn't have to do because of his responsibilities. He could have just stood outside the hole and said, you guys need to be doing this. And even more so, I don't know if y'all noticed that he mentioned that Brandon was also in the hole the majority of the evening, and he was actually planning to go out of town for a family event and told his wife to drop him off and he'd see her the next day. So I think he deserves a lot of kudos for that as well. So we have a really good team, and I think that they deserve to be mentioned when appropriate. So that's certainly appropriate tonight. And that is it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen?
I have nothing further.
Mr. McCord?
First of all, happy anniversary to Jessica and her husband on their 8th wedding anniversary, and congratulations to the winners of the past elections. And I see Mr. Fuller in the audience, and we don't want that loss to discourage you from participating in this process. Come find out as much as you can about city government, but the county may have some openings, who knows. Just whenever I see somebody willing to put their name in the hat, my hat is off to you. So thank you again, and congratulations to the winners. Thank you.
Mrs. Murray?
Again, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Brandon, great job. And Mr. Lewis, great job. I think I saw you all out there doing that night. So pretty good. So I just, thanks again, Commissioners on board for celebrating us. It was a great opportunity to be out in the community and see everybody again. And I also talked to my opponent and anything that she might want to do to continue to serve or continue to get involved with the government. We definitely push that. So again, thanks for everything everybody does.
Thank you.
No comment.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Mr. Tinsley? Nothing. Mr. Brock?
Jack Kramer has been a faithful person that comes to most of the meetings. He's had a little bit of lapse in the last few months, but he's got his health together, things are going well. He lost a good lady about, 3 months ago, Jack? Somewhere. Anyway, Jack, welcome, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you back, Mr. Jack. And again, wanted to congratulate Ms. O'Connor. I remember when you were just a wee one and all grown up now. I'm very proud of you and the hard work, and you just passed your 7th month. So congratulations. You haven't left us and holding the back, so we're very glad to still have you here with us. You're doing a great job. Also, the 4 winners of the commission, I'm excited that we all get to continue working as a team for the next at least 2 years while I'm here, and we'll work hard for the citizens and to our veterans. So I just want to thank you all for your sacrifice and your service to our country. Without you, we wouldn't have the freedom to be here standing representing the people. So what makes this country so amazing is the willingness of you to sacrifice your time, your energy, your talents, and willing to serve. It's a great time. So thank you all. That being said, do we have a motion to go into executive session pursuant to OCGA session 54-21 for the purpose of consulting and meeting with legal counsel pertaining to pending and potential litigation, settlement claims, administration proceedings, or other jurisdictional actions brought or to be brought by or against the agency or any officer or employee in which the agency or any officer or employee may be directly involved pursuant to OCGA section 5014-3B, 1B, for the purpose of authorizing negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease the property. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Motion second,
Got a
motion Tinsley and Brock.
Second by Mr. Tinsley.
Oh, vice versa.
We're gonna take up one matter first and we'll call y'all.
It won't take but a second.
Are you doing good, Ms. Flowers?
I am.
I flew in from South Dakota this morning, right?
How was that?
We had a great vacation. It was nice just to chill.
My girl says that. I can have.
All right.
Can we leave?
Good night.
We have a motion for Mr. Tinsley to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Brock.
Yes.
Everybody left. Is the meeting over?
Yeah.
All right.